Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Anthony Akuboy, a professor at the local university in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I am a professor of environmental and technological studies, and I have been a professor for the past 28 years. I came to St. Cloud, Minnesota from West Virginia. My knowledge of Prophet Sylvester Omo Idehen started from Marshall University, Huntington, West Virginia. We both went to Marshall University. We were very good friends, and still are very good friends today. As we were students at Marshall University, Prophet Sylvester Idehen was my roommate. We were both sharing upstairs apartments together, so I knew him very well. And my observation as we were going about trying to better ourselves by receiving adequate education, I observed that Mr. Idehen was a very, very open-minded person, very generous in dealing with others, socially very likable. As a matter of fact, he would go out of his way to give a hand to whoever needed his help without wanting anything in return. I would venture to say that Mr. Idehen was generous to a fault. But then after a long time of knowing him, I came to the conclusion that the Lord made him the way he was, and that he could not help himself. Anyway, I saw certain traits about him. He was a gentleman who understood that the best exercise for the heart is reaching down and pulling others up. And I was impressed by this young man's attitude. So eventually we all graduated from Marshall University with our different degrees, and of course dispersed to different places, including different states. And nobody heard from each other. As a matter of fact, nobody knew where their friends were. But Mr. Idehen, being the kind of person that he is, one day called my office, and I picked up the phone and I wanted to know who it was. And his voice, I heard his voice, and I kind of screamed in my office because I never thought I would hear from any one of those with whom I went to Marshall University. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we, started again where we left off, and we continued communicating with each other. And one day he called me and told me that as he was walking to somewhere, a man stopped him on the street and told him that he was a special person and that the Lord was kind to him and wanted him to become one of his followers. In other words, a prophet. And this gentleman anointed him. Now, whether this gentleman was a human being or a spirit remains, a mystery to me. But from that time on, my friend, my brother, began to pray for people. And one thing about, the prayers I was saying for people was that, people were getting better and better. People who were sick, discovered that they were getting better and would voluntarily tell him how effective his prayers were. Well, he called me and talked to me about what was happening, and I told him that I had observed those qualities in him back in 1978, 1979, 1980, but that it was only a matter of time before, he assumed the rightful position meant for him by God. So not long after that, I fell ill myself. And I told him. And he told me he was going to pray for me. Being his friend, I was really selfish about my request. I practically wanted him not to pray for anybody else but myself. Which he laughed and all of that. But he started praying for me. And gradually I started recovering to the point that I'm now able to sit down here and give testimony to the gift that God has given Prophet Idaen. Ladies and gentlemen, I am feeling much better than ever before. And that glory must always be to God. Thank you, Prophet Idaen. I would advise that you receive without charge, give without charge. And for those who have been helped, please do not ask him how much you would pay him, because that's not what God intended his ministry for. Rather, whatever comes from your heart to give to him, please do give to him. He is a treasure to our society. He is a credit to our society. Thank you very much, and may God bless all of you.